In the newest episode of Tell Your Tale, which is somehow not titled Snow Place Like Home because I guess they've lost the willpower to even do puns now, they try to provide some context for Allura's behaviors and motivations. They fail drastically. Now, before I get into all this, I want to be clear. Allura is my favorite Season 2 character. She hasn't gotten much screen time, but the few times she has appeared, despite some incredible inconsistencies in her portrayal, she's been interesting. She was shown to be an over-the-top, manipulative menace willing to do anything to get what she wants. She's dangerously antisocial, actively violent, and seemingly without remorse for her actions. In spite of that, the show gives her much sympathy, as do the characters, and I think that's pretty cool. Usually when villains are shown mercy or compassion, it's because they're obviously tragic or pained. Allura was an exception to that, and that's rad. This episode, as you might have guessed, totally ruins that by making her yet another generically pained and tragic figure. The entire middle act of the episode is dedicated to a song where, instead of real lyrics, she infodumps her traumas in comical detail, interspersed with whining about how misunderstood she is, and that just doesn't work. She didn't give anyone anything to understand. If she did, she would already be understood because people are actively trying to understand her. She instead chooses to harm those around her and disregard their agency as a categorical rule. Given the option, she's always decided not to show compassion, so the idea that she's somehow confused about her villainous status is laughable. She acts like a villain on purpose. And to be clear, I'm not complaining that Allura is hurt or complaining that her behaviors are a result of her hurt. I'm complaining about the comically poor rationale. Sometimes people do act like villains, and those people still do deserve compassion. But it undermines that moral if the villain in question is whining about how misunderstood they are, while knowingly taking violent and aggressive action toward others. It removes agency from their character when we say they're somehow being perceived incorrectly by the protagonists. Kindness should be something we offer universally, independent of any sappy self-indulgence. Allura deserves respect and love and mercy because she exists, not because she's really sad and misunderstood. The episode also gives us details into her backstory, and they're very confusing. Her song blends symbolic and literal imagery at multiple points, so it's unclear exactly what occurred. There is some new context for her relationships and what they mean to her, but how and why those relationships came about is pretty hazy. This was presumably to stoke further interest in her character development, but on its own, it's not a lot. Lastly, the main six, as briefly as they appear, are all pretty insufferable. I've been over this before, but it really ruins the verisimilitude of the characters when they're just acting like audience surrogates. There's a bit where Sparky dozes off and everyone freaks out about how it's the most adorable thing ever, even though they've been living with Sparky for years. He's been sleepy many times before, and they didn't act like this. Like, yeah, I understand, the baby is cute. You don't have to insist that it's cute though. Let the audience draw that conclusion themselves. Don't tell people how to feel, let feeling arise organically. Basically, the episode was disappointing. It threw away one of the most engaging things about the show that were still left.